Would you dare step into the dirtiest markets in India, where the stench clings to every breath, rats dart freely beneath vendors' feet, and you won't believe what's being sold on those stalls? This isn't a horror movie. It's daily life. Why do these markets still exist? Who's buying this stuff? And what secrets are hiding behind what looks like food? Today, we're diving into the forgotten corners of India's food trade, where most cameras don't dare to go. What you see will shock you and might just change the way you look at street food forever. Number 1. Why are markets like this? India is home to thousands of traditional markets, but only a handful. Leave both locals and tourists holding their breath, not from awe, nor from the crowds, but from the overwhelming level of filth that surpasses normal tolerance. Crawford Market in Mumbai is one of the clearest examples. Once a colonial-era commercial icon, it is now buried under organic waste, with stagnant wastewater pooling in every corner. The drainage system built over a century ago can no longer withstand the pressure of thousands of daily transactions. Overflowing trash bins spill into walkways, and waste mixed with rainwater creates a thick black sludge underfoot. Even the fish and meat sections, despite a 2025 renovation plan, remain under construction, unable to address years of environmental degradation. In Delhi, Khari Baoli, the largest spice market in Asia, still bursts with color and vibrant energy, but can't hide the suffocating atmosphere that clings to every sack of turmeric and basket of red chilies. The rich aroma isn't enough to mask the fine, spicy dust floating in the air, stinging the eyes and burning the throat the moment you step in. In alleyways so narrow, two people can barely squeeze past each other. Tons of goods are hauled by bare hands, rickety carts, or weaving motorbikes. All this takes place on ground, long overwhelmed, where leaking sewage mixes with spilled organic waste, forming a dark, toxic stream down the pathways. Every monsoon brings a flood that carries everything that should have been treated, and vendors simply place bricks or wooden planks to avoid the dirty water continuing to sell as if nothing happened. Dabaji Market in Kolkata offers a raw, unforgettable glimpse into daily life, cramped, damp, and grounded in every sense of the word. Fresh fish is cleaned and prepared right on the spot, with runoff from the process mixing into the muddy ground, creating an environment that's heavy with distinct smells. Steam rises from aging drainage canals, carrying the scent of seafood and organic waste that hasn't yet been cleared. Many vendors sit low to the ground on plastic sheets right beside stagnant water, making a living with minimal resources. When the rain comes, the outdated drainage system quickly overflows. Water rises, dragging along scattered trash and occasionally revealing creatures that usually remain hidden beneath the surface. There's no advanced waste management system supporting the market from behind, a situation not uncommon in older, densely populated urban areas that have seen little infrastructure renewal. This is a snapshot of the broader challenges of rapid urbanization. Insufficient infrastructure, population pressure, and the constant struggle for livelihood pushing many communities to adapt with what little they have. In Bengaluru, Russell Market carries a quieter sadness, the silent decay of a once proud piece of the city's heritage. The stone arches are speckled with moss. Wooden beams or cracked bricks crumble. The market visibly ages, but the real pain lies not in its years, but in its abandonment. Drainage grates gape right at customers' feet, revealing pools of yellowing wastewater. Vegetable stalls creep dangerously close to raw meat counters. No barriers, no partitions, just foul smells seeping into every crevice. Between the piles of goods lie collapsed stalls, bent metal roofs, and no one bats an eye. It's become a natural part of the place. Locals have largely resigned themselves to the situation, buying groceries while holding their noses. Some wear masks. Others have grown used to the smell, dismissing it as just how markets are. But for tourists and outsiders, visiting these markets can be genuinely shocking. In social media, videos people have captured swarms of flies over fish counters, rats darting past baskets of vegetables, or sewage water splashing from potholes garnering millions of views and thousands of comments voicing concern about food safety. In truth, this isn't just about a few infamous markets. In Tier 2 cities like Patna, Lucknow, or Bhopal, the conditions are often worse but rarely make headlines. Many markets have no toilets, no waste collection, no hygiene standards of any kind. Sellers and buyers coexist in an environment that ignores every public health risk. If you've ever visited a traditional market under similar conditions, anywhere, drop a comment below. Your experience could help shed light on a reality that's been long overlooked by many urban management systems. The chaos of hygiene in these markets isn't random. It's the layered outcome of many failures, from consumer behavior and cultural habits to city planning laws and government negligence. Each of these elements contributes to not just the persistence, but the worsening of the crisis over time. Now is the time to peel back each layer, to uncover every root cause, and to confront how an entire system has allowed these markets to become open wounds at the heart of our cities. Number 2, dirty markets are a result. Consumer habits play a key role in shaping how traditional markets operate. In India, many shoppers place a strong emphasis on the freshness of goods, because especially for meat and fish, which are often processed on-site to ensure perceived freshness. While this approach aligns with local preferences, it can also result in significant amounts of organic waste being generated directly at the point of sale. For fruits and vegetables, it's common for buyers to carefully inspect and handle each item. While this hands-on approach is culturally rooted and widely practiced, it can also lead to faster spoilage, especially when proper storage measures are lacking. Together, these practices contribute to rising levels of food waste in markets, particularly in areas where waste management systems are limited or underdeveloped. Balancing traditional consumer behaviors with the growing need for sustainable waste solutions remains a practical challenge for many urban centers. Most market vendors are small-scale, family-run businesses without the capital to invest in refrigeration, proper packaging, or waste treatment. Their operations rely on experience and improvisation, not compliance with formal standards. This reflects a dependence on the informal economy, where licenses, inspections, and sanitation regulations exist only on paper, unless someone decides to enforce them. Outdated infrastructure and poor urban planning play a crucial role in sustaining the decay. Many major markets today were built during colonial times or grew haphazardly from small trading spots. Drainage systems have barely been upgraded to match the current scale and flow of commercial activity. Rain makes things even worse. Floodwaters rise, sweeping trash, dead animals, and decomposing waste across the entire market. In major markets like those in Delhi or Mumbai, renovation efforts are often delayed due to conflicts between authorities and vendors. Proposed upgrades usually meet resistance over fears of losing livelihoods, increased stall rents, or being relocated from familiar spots. These standoffs drag on for years, stalling progress on essential infrastructure improvements. A quieter yet powerful factor is the fragmentation of legal and administrative control. A market may fall under a city authority's jurisdiction, while individual stalls are managed by local councils or even vendor associations. This division of power and responsibility leads to a vicious cycle. No one wants to spend money without control, and no one is held accountable when things go wrong. Such overlapping authorities pave the way for corruption to become a normal part of the system. According to a 2024 investigation by India Today, many vendors at Khari Baoli admitted to paying monthly cash bribes to local officials to avoid fines for hygiene violations. These unnamed costs become a constant burden, forcing vendors to cut corners elsewhere, including in food storage and waste disposal. Beneath all the issues of infrastructure and management lies a deeper layer: social inequality. Most vendors in these unsanitary markets are migrant workers or low-income urban dwellers with no alternative. They lack access to credit to upgrade stalls, technical skills to improve preservation processes, or the political voice to negotiate with authorities. Meanwhile, middle-class and wealthier consumers are steadily withdrawing from traditional markets in favor of supermarkets or online shopping. This leaves old markets increasingly abandoned, yet still responsible for feeding the lower-income population. Environmental factors also can't be ignored. Each monsoon season triggers a cascade of problems that spiral out of control. Organic waste ferments. Faster floods linger longer, bacteria spread more aggressively. Already poor hygiene conditions become perfect breeding grounds for disease outbreaks. This isn't a naturally occurring vicious cycle. It's the outcome of how various layers of society, from administrators and vendors to consumers, interact with one another without anyone taking full responsibility. These markets aren't filthy because any one person did something wrong, but because the system allows filth to exist as a normal part of urban life. From consumer behavior to city planning, this story isn't just about markets. It's about how a society treats its most basic need: food. When we look back at all these root causes, from shopping habits to street-level corruption, what do you think is the hardest to change? Share your thoughts, because next we'll dive deeper into the lives of the people trapped in this daily cycle. Number 3. The system exists but doesn't work. India has a relatively well-defined legal framework for food hygiene and market regulation. But these regulations, though comprehensive on paper, are often nowhere to be found where they're needed most in the traditional markets. The Food Safety and Standards Act (FSSF), passed in 2006, is the cornerstone of India's food-related legal system. It mandates that all food businesses, from large restaurants to small market vendors, must comply with basic hygiene standards, ensuring proper sourcing, storage, and handling of food products. In addition to this central law, local governments across states and cities have issued specific regulations for individual markets, covering everything from stall structure and drainage systems to waste collection schedules. Major cities like Delhi, Mumbai, and Bengaluru even maintain on-site enforcement teams. However, the gap between regulation and reality is staggering. In many markets, vendors don't have licenses from the FSSAI, the authority responsible for issuing and inspecting food safety certifications. It's not because they're intentionally breaking the rules, but because the licensing process is complex, time-consuming, and requires documentation that many migrant or informal workers simply don't possess. Even when laws are in place and officials are assigned, enforcement often stalls due to staff shortages. According to the FSSAI's 2023 report, there's a nationwide shortfall of up to 40% in field inspectors. This means one officer may be responsible for overseeing 5 to 10 markets, turning inspections into mere formalities. Beyond staffing shortages lies an even deeper issue: petty corruption. Many vendors report being routinely asked for support fees to avoid fines or eviction. These payments might be small, just a few hundred rupees a month, but multiplied across hundreds of stalls, they create an unofficial protection system where the law becomes a bargaining chip rather than a safeguard for consumers. The situation at Khari Baoli in 2024 illustrates this clearly. A major campaign by Delhi authorities to upgrade drainage systems and restructure market stalls was indefinitely postponed after conflict erupted between vendors and the government. The plan required vendors to sign new contracts and pay renovation fees, sparking fears of land grabs eviction and loss of selling rights. In the end, the project was shelved despite having an approved budget. Meanwhile, in Kolkata, a 2024 fish poisoning incident sent over 200 people to the hospital. The contaminated batch was traced back to a wholesale market, but no vendors were prosecuted due to lack of proper documentation. The case was quietly closed with a general statement from the health department urging citizens to be cautious when purchasing fresh food. These incidents don't point to a lack of regulation, but to a lack of will and capacity to enforce them. Where there should be due process, there's gut instinct. Where there should be inspections, there are personal connections. And where there should be justice, there are compromises. Behind every dirty fish stall, every unshielded meat counter, lies a law that wasn't enforced. Yet despite a system gone off track, some people aren't waiting around for legislation. They're starting with the smallest actions, bare hands, personal responsibility, and a determination to clean up the places where they live and work. So in this environment, who's really paying the price for this neglect every day, and who's still trying to hold their ground, keeping their tiny corner from being swallowed by trash and compromise? Let's meet them. Number 4. Communities take cleanup into their own hands. When the management system stalls and the law is forgotten, some vendor communities and social organizations decide not to wait any longer. They take action with whatever they have to improve hygiene right where they sell. In Delhi, Chintan is one of the few organizations working directly with small vendors in traditional markets. In a 2023 pilot program at Sadar Bazaar, they trained vendors on waste segregation, organic waste collection, and installed basic upstream waste storage systems right inside the market. Within just the first 3 months, leftover trash in the market dropped by 20%, eliminating the scenes of garbage spilling into walkways. Though the program wasn't scaled due to lack of funding, it proved that change is possible with the right support in the right places. In Bengaluru, Hasiru Dala, a group supporting waste pickers, took a different approach, reaching out to the unnamed sanitation workers inside markets. They provided protective gear handcarts, specialized sacks, and safety training to crews who had long been invisible to the public eye. These workers, once relying solely on instinct and experience, could now collect, sort, and transport waste much more effectively. Beyond NGOs, some vendor groups have started grassroots self-governance efforts right in their markets. In Mapusa, Goa, a group of 15 fish and vegetable stall owners teamed up to hire a cleaner for morning and evening shifts. They pooled monthly funds, created a duty roster, and rotated supervision. The system ran smoothly for nearly a year until a dispute with the market board over access to the dumping site brought it to a halt. Even if not sustainable, it showed that insiders are willing to take responsibility if not obstructed. Social media has also become a tool for raising awareness. A video showing a rat crawling into a sack of rice at Russell Market went viral on X, formerly Twitter, gaining over 1 million views within 24 hours. In the comments, hundreds of people shared similar conditions in their own local markets, posting photos, videos, and tagging municipal authorities directly. However, viral attention doesn't always lead to real-world action. While some officials promised to look into it, most cases faded into silence after a few weeks. Without internal pressure from the system, even the loudest outrage gradually dies down. Some community campaigns are aimed at long-term, hands-on solutions. At Kamla Nagar Market, a group of students from Delhi University teamed up with vendors to design hygiene guide boards placed at visible points around the market. The signs were written in simple Hindi with easy-to-understand visuals, so even illiterate vendors could follow them. Initiatives like these don't replace policy, but they make a noticeable impact when sustained. The biggest challenge for self-organized groups is the lack of funding and official recognition. Many efforts are forced to shut down simply due to a lack of maintenance budget, or because market authorities accustomed to outdated routines see these efforts as disruptive. Instead of supporting them, some officials pressure these grassroots groups to dissolve. Yet these efforts are spreading slowly but surely. What's notable is that most successful campaigns begin with those directly affected: the vendors, the cleaners, the people living near the market. They don't need presentations, slogans, or big media rollouts. They just need the right tools and the freedom to act. The reality is, many lasting improvements don't come from high-level policies, but from the smallest actions: a group of vendors hiring a cleaner together, a few stall owners pitching in to repair a broken roof, or students teaching waste sorting using picture charts. These efforts don't need approval, massive funding, or official endorsement. They happen because the people involved simply can't stand the mess anymore. Have you ever witnessed or been part of a collective action like that, whether in a market, a neighborhood, or a workplace? What made it work, or what caused it to stop? Share your story, because up next is a look at places around the world where traditional markets still thrive without being abandoned. Amid a tangled system, these people are testing every method to keep their space clean, not because someone told them to, but because they just couldn't take it anymore. And sometimes it's those humble, unfunded, and unrecognized actions that bring about the most lasting change. From markets where people clean up on their own, the question is no longer, is it possible? But why hasn't anyone officially helped them do it legally, sustainably, and in an organized way? While we search for answers, we can learn from places that have already figured it out, where traditional markets survive but aren't left behind in filth. Number 5. Clean or dirty depends on management. The issue of market sanitation isn't unique to India. Across the world, many countries continue to maintain traditional markets as vital parts of urban life. However, their management approaches differ greatly, proving that sustainability is entirely achievable when the system prioritizes the right problems. Bangkok offers a culturally and climatically close example. At Chatuchak Market, one of the largest markets in Southeast Asia, thousands of stalls operate weekly, selling everything from fresh produce to prepared foods. Despite crowds that far outnumber those in India's traditional markets, the food zones at Chatuchak maintain basic hygiene standards thanks to regular inspections, well-maintained infrastructure, and most importantly, cooperation between vendors and the city government. The Thai government considers Chatuchak a key tourism destination, so investments in sanitation and safety are treated with the same importance as promoting the nation's image. In London, Borough Market proves that traditional markets and high sanitation standards don't have to be mutually exclusive. Hygiene regulations there are strictly enforced by the UK Food Standards Agency. Each stall must undergo inspections, evaluations, and can be suspended for violations. Transparency in management, along with investment from both public and private sectors, helps Borough thrive as a space where local food culture meets global standards. In Marrakech, Jema El Fana Market doesn't boast modern infrastructure like in Europe, but stands out with its community management model. Vendor groups have created self-governing committees responsible for overseeing hygiene order and customer interaction. Each member contributes a small fee in return for the right to operate in a clean, stable environment. As a result, even without constant state oversight, the market remains orderly without losing its traditional charm. From these successful models, it's clear markets don't need to be dirty to preserve tradition. Vibrancy, noise, and cultural richness can coexist with cleanliness and order as long as the people in the middle of it all have the tools, support, and motivation to uphold shared standards. Number 6 signs of change are emerging. Despite persistent challenges, the past 2 years have brought signs that India's food market management system is beginning to shift. Though not yet with enough force to spark fundamental transformation. In Mumbai, the municipal authority BMC began renovations on Crawford Market in late 2024. The initial phase focuses on the fish and meat sections long criticized for waste buildup and foul odors. A new complex is under construction, featuring a dedicated wastewater treatment system, wider walkways, elevated flooring, and a centralized cold storage facility funded by the city. However, construction progress has slowed due to pushback from a group of vendors reluctant to relocate to the new area, fearing the loss of regular customers and increased operational costs. In contrast to these official efforts, some recent events have highlighted just how serious the shortcomings in oversight remain. In mid-2024, a large-scale fish poisoning incident in Kolkata sent over 200 people, many of them children and the elderly, to the hospital. Lab tests confirmed the fish had been contaminated by stagnant wastewater in the preparation area. Yet with no documentation linking the products to a specific vendor, no one was held accountable. The incident sparked a brief wave of online outrage that quickly faded, leaving no tangible reform in its wake. One of the most internationally visible reactions came from celebrity chef Gordon Ramsay during his visit to Crawford Market for a documentary in 2024. In a widely circulated clip, he bluntly described the fish section as shockingly filthy, a comment that stirred controversy on Indian social media. Some criticized the remark as a Western overreach, but many agreed it was time to acknowledge the problem instead of continuing to ignore it. On a more hopeful note, some grassroots organizations have continued expanding their efforts, even with limited resources. In 2024, Chintan launched additional waste sorting workshops at 4 more markets in Delhi. In Kolkata, following the poisoning incident, a local youth group gathered 10,000 signatures on a petition to the city council demanding upgrades to Dabuji Market. As of May 2025, there has been no official response. The story is far from over. But in these small, sometimes fragile movements lies a reason for hope that a new system may still be possible. And that hope grows stronger when those within the system begin to change themselves. Number 7. What these markets really tell us. The markets you've just seen on screen might look unfamiliar at first glance, but the feelings they stir are deeply familiar to many: discomfort, resignation, and sometimes even a quiet fondness for places tied to memory and everyday life. These are spaces where people still sell, still shop, still tread across muddy ground, while the systems around them seem to have grown used to watching everything decay over time. This isn't just about food hygiene. It's about how a society treats the very places that feed the majority of its people. And it's a reminder that what's considered normal is sometimes exactly what needs to be questioned the most. Each viewer may walk away with something different after watching this video. Maybe it's an old memory. Maybe it's empathy for a vendor. Maybe it's just a lingering question about the place you once called home. The comments below are a way to continue that story, not to end it. If you believe this video is worth being seen and reflected on, by more people, please share it. And if you want to keep following real, unfiltered journeys into the world's overlooked corners, consider subscribing to NVL Travel Documentary so you won't miss the next story. Thank you for watching until the end.